Hello and welcome to Creatives Like Us, where I speak with creatives of colour who share journeys and stories and ideas and how they can inspire and open up avenues in creative industries. I'm your host, graphic designer Angela Lyons, and with the help of my guests, I will bring you insightful interviews and compelling stories that can inspire you to think about things differently or shape your next move. Being a creative of colour can bring its challenges, highs and lows and in-betweens. But this podcast is about amplifying our voices and celebrating together. So, are you ready? Let's get started with Creatives Like Us. Welcome to Creatives Like Us. And today I'm joined with Gus Bhandal. And Gus, will you tell us who you are and where you are in the world?
So my name is Gus. I am a LinkedIn trainer. I run a marketing agency and I'm based here in Coventry, which is, as we know, the center of the universe.
Did you brand it that?
Yeah.
You're so
Totally.
funny.
Yes, yeah. No, nobody else calls it that. It's just me, to be honest.
Okay, cool. And I know you said you've got a marketing agency, but can you tell people what type of creative are you and how you use that in your business?
Yes, so it's a difficult one because I used to call myself a copywriter, and then I met some copywriters and I thought, that I'm not a copywriter. So the kind of creative that I am is specifically a content writer, and I help businesses with LinkedIn specifically. Help service sector businesses, so accountants, HR, lawyers, coaches, consultants, videographers, photographers, etc. So people who provide a service. That's who I work for. And a lot of the work that I do, the creative work, is the content writing for them to essentially grow their kind of brand awareness, grow their brand, attract clients, etc.
Just out of interest, do you actually write the content for them, or do you also guide them? Is there a bit of both that you do in your business?
Yeah, so there's a done for you service, and then there's a done with you, and a lot of it. Because obviously I can't know every industry, it's very much, we have kind of regular meetings. We sit down kind of monthly to talk about what's happening in their industry, if anything's happening, and so on and so forth. And then I go away and kind of write the content as such. But there's a lot of back and forth. Obviously there has to be. I can't, like I said, I can't be an accountant and a lawyer and then HR and all the rest of it.
Yeah. Brilliant. So you tell us how you got started in this, I suppose, not from started as in from the
Yeah.
beginning of your company, what is the name of your company?
So the
Tell us.
company is called The M Guru, and the M stands for marketing. I know it took me ages to come up with that name.
So
So
creative.
yeah, absolutely. Well, if I tell if I tell you a little bit of background, so I was born in the 70s. No, I won't go all the way back. But essentially, I did a marketing degree in the late 90s, and then my first proper job, as it were, my boss used to call me the marketing guru, and that's kind of where the company name started. Because even though I was like completely wet behind the ears, it was quite like an early job. I used to do the marketing reporting to head office, and our head office was up north in Darlington near Newcastle. So I used to go there. I used to present report like quarterly marketing reports to directors, etc. And because my boss didn't really know what the hell I was talking about, he kind of said, "Oh, you're like a marketing guru." And I was like, "Oh, that's stuck from there, basically." So that's kind of where the name came from. My current business I started in 2017. So long story, I had a long and illustrious marketing career. Then I left it all to run a local pub, um, which was a massive headache. However, it was the catalyst for me starting my own marketing agency, which I then did 3 years later after that. So 2017, I started.
I need to go back to the pub.
Okay,
Hang
cool.
on. So a pub. You had a pub. So you had a pub.
Yes, yeah. So my last proper job, my boss's husband owned a pub. He was like the owner of my local pub, the pub which was round the corner from where I grew up. So my father used to go there, my
Yeah.
brothers used to go there, all their friends used to go there. I used to go there with all my friends, etc. And then they said, "Oh, we're looking for a pub landlord, because the lease is coming up for the previous one." And for some reason, I don't know why, I said, "Oh, I could do that. I'll do that." And as the conversations went on, I started running the pub, and although I don't regret it, it was a brilliant time and I loved it. It's incredibly time intensive, like really, really time intensive.
Is it from just morning till nighttime? You're just there constantly. Obviously, I suppose it's
So
just and be.
yeah, I mean, because it was a pub restaurant, like we had a brilliant chef, but
Oh,
I did
okay.
all the shopping, for example. So I'd leave the house at say
Mhm.
9 o'clock in the morning. I'd go to the cash and carry. We'd go to the market. We'd buy all that day's produce and the meat and all that kind of
Wow.
stuff. And then obviously we'd order our beers, and because our beers kind of came daily as well. So obviously then we'd have to have those deliveries and all that kind of stuff. In between all that, we're kind
Yeah.
of We're doing a deep clean of the kitchen twice a week. We're cleaning the pipes twice a week, in terms of the beer pipes and all that kind of stuff. And that's even before we actually start serving any pints or any food.
Serving a customer.
Yeah, so
Wow.
it was
Wow.
so yeah, I'd leave the house at say 9 o'clock in the morning. By the time we finished cleaning up, cashing up, etc., I wouldn't get home till about midnight at least. And I was doing that 7 days a week, basically. So
And then let's repeat, just like repeat,
every
repeat,
day, yeah.
repeat. Oh
And
my gosh. Oh my
because
gosh.
pubs in those days, this was pre-pandemic, so in those days, pubs were kind of
Yeah.
it was a cash business. So what would then end up,
Mm.
we couldn't trust anyone to then look after the pub for us. So basically, I was doing all of it, basically all the cashing up, all the
Everything.
cleaning up,
Yeah. Wow.
etc., etc. Anyway, so while I was there, so my son was born in 2017, and at that moment, luckily I had a break clause in the contract. So we had a long-term contract, but there was a break clause, and my
Yeah.
son was born just before the break clause could be affected. So I called quits on the pub basically.
You said
Yeah,
done.
because you can't
Wow.
do both. I couldn't be a family man and run a pub. It's impossible because I was for the first
Yeah.
6 months of my son's life. I'd have breakfast with him and then I'd go. And so for the first 6 months,
So you,
yeah, every morning he just looked at me like, "Who's this guy in my house?"
too
Yeah,
easy.
yeah. So yeah, so I left.
So that was your catalyst to move and get change from
Yes,
there.
yeah, yeah. So in late 2017, I
Wow.
kind of
Bless him.
I set up all my marketing stuff. I thought, right, I'm going to run an agency. I'm going to run my own business. Admittedly, I was looking for work as well. I thought, I'll go and get a part-time or a full-time job, etc. But nothing materialized, and I pretty soon realized I better make a go of my business. Otherwise, yeah, just not going to be able to pay any bills.
Who's that's so cool. That's so cool. Good that you've actually done it, and you're still here and you're still doing it.
Yes.
Who was your first client?
Uh,
Who's your first client,
so
or how did you get your first
So my
client?
first client was one of our competitors at the pub. So because we had a pub restaurant, and
Serious?
like approximately a mile away, there was another like a pub restaurant that essentially did everything that we did. So people would either come to us and then go there, or go there and then come to us, etc., etc. And they came in once while I was in the pub and said, "Who does all your marketing? Like it's really good, like all your social media and all that kind of stuff. It's really, really good. Who does it?" And we were like, "Oh, we've got an external agency and all that kind of stuff." And then obviously when I left the pub, I went to them and said, "Just so you know, it was me doing everything." And they were like, "Great, we want to
Yeah.
hire you." And they were my first
Wow.
client, so they hired me more or less instantly. And then
Perfect.
one of our other competitors then got wind of this, and then they hired me as well, kind of thing. So my first two clients
Perfect.
were pub and restaurant clients. And they were with me for quite a while as well, kind of thing. Because obviously I knew the industry and
Perfect.
all that
Perfect.
kind.
Yeah. 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 And you knew them, and
Yeah.
you are such a people person, Gus.
It was the pub that helped this. I've always been an introvert.
Yeah.
I've always been really quiet, all the time, the guy that shies away and all that kind of stuff. The one that's like, sitting on the sidelines when the lads are playing football, or maybe doing my homework and when everybody else is out on their bikes and playing and all that kind of stuff. So I've always been like a quiet guy, if that makes sense. And then when I ran the pub, I realized that I better start talking to people, otherwise nobody's going to buy a pint, basically. And it was yeah, having said that, I never really had to talk too much because being a pub landlord is very much a listening game. Because people used to come in and just
Yes.
I used to hear all sorts. They used to tell me all their problems and all that kind of stuff, and it was good for communication. I think that's the thing. And then I think when
Yeah.
I started running my own business, I realized that if I don't talk to people, I'm not going to make any money, basically.
Yeah. 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 Perfect. And now look at you. You have your own. Do you want to tell us about your own industry event around LinkedIn?
Sure, yeah. So I run an annual LinkedIn conference. It's called Uplift Live, and it happens every March. I say every March. I mean the next March. So March 2026 will be the third event, and we always have kind of great speakers and all the rest of it. It's a great kind of we have a party the night before and all
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff. But specifically, so one of my friends, John Esperian, he kind of said, "Oh, I've got this idea for a conference. Do you want to come and help me?" So myself, John Esperian, and a gentleman called Jeremy Freeman, the three of us run this conference. And it is literally designed for people to come and learn more about LinkedIn, to do a real deep dive on LinkedIn. Because as you are well aware, Angela, and everybody else listening,
Mm-hmm.
um, there's a myriad of events out there, and most events try to do everything for everyone. So particularly social media
Mm-hmm.
conferences, they have a bit of LinkedIn and a bit of TikTok and a bit of Facebook and a bit of Instagram and a bit of ads, and then they
Mm.
add loads of other stuff like, oh, let's do some copywriting and let's do some branding and let's throw SEO in and all this kind of stuff. All of a
Yeah. Yeah.
sudden,
Yeah.
you're paying a few £100 for a ticket where you're only getting like 20 minutes of value. So we thought we want to make it
Mm-hmm.
like if you're not into LinkedIn, don't bother coming to the conference. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
focus.
But if you
But if
are,
you are,
it's the place
It's the
to
place to be. Yeah.
definitely go. Yeah, I saw your lineup this year and I saw Michelle J. Remond and I was like, wow, that's
Yeah.
a big LinkedIn person to have. And next year you've got Dave Harland.
Absolutely.
So that's so
We try to
cool.
have the best of the best, and you know, the
Yeah.
first year we had people like Richard van der Blom, Nigel Cliff, etc., like global kind of LinkedIn
Hmm.
specialists. And then last year, earlier this year, we had Michelle J. Raymond. She came in from Australia. We had the world's #1 LinkedIn ads specialist, AJ Wilcox. He came over from the States. We had a guy called Jima who was talking all about video. He came over from Trinidad and Tobago. So we had lots of like,
I've started following him
oh,
now, by the way,
he's
off the back of what I've seen
oh
about
good.
him. I was like, he looks really cool.
He's the coolest guy with the silkiest voice, I swear. And like, and
Yeah.
in our original lineup, we actually put like John Experience said, "Oh, he should go last," kind of thing. And I said, "No way." I said, "He's going to put people to sleep because he's got such a silky voice." And I said, "No, no, let's put him earlier on because he's a very chilled, relaxed guy, which is great." But
Yeah.
his talk was super impressive. He was kind of like the talk of the town, basically. But anyway, so yeah, next year. So for next March, we've just announced Dave Harland and Nicole Osborne so far.
Hmm. Yeah. So just let people know March, as in March 2026, because when I record this, and then if anyone comes back and listens, but March 2026 is the next
Yes.
one. And I will leave the link in the show notes. So if you want to get your ticket,
Thank you so
I'm
much.
sure Gus will welcome you there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Perfect. Perfect. Oh, wow. So one of my things around LinkedIn is that actually, funny enough, I'm going to do portfolio reviews tomorrow at college for graduates, and I'm going to talk to them about LinkedIn a little bit. Would you give me one tip to tell them? Because I think they're still, when I met them earlier on when the program started this year, they were very scared about LinkedIn and they were like, oh no, we don't want to go on LinkedIn. They pretty much even didn't want to go on Instagram, to be honest with you. And I was found that quite surprising because I thought, they're young people. I thought they would be all over it. Is there anything like a tip to get going on LinkedIn that I could tell them as graduates?
What I always say, my LinkedIn tip would be to always be yourself. And I appreciate that lots of marketers say that. And it sounds like a very blasé statement in
Hmm.
itself. But specifically for LinkedIn, I think one of the things is by being yourself, you end up standing out. And I think the thing is, I talk a lot about being intentionally self, like really leaning in to who you are and what you stand for and what you do. So I normally recommend, and the strategy is by being yourself, I recommend that you write at least one post a week that talks about your week. Like, oh, I did this, I saw this person, I got this review, I got this client testimonial, I went, to this networking event, whatever it may be,
Hmm. Hmm.
because AI can't do that for you. The only person that has your life experiences is you. And those life experiences then kind of build your tribe because then people are into that. When I write posts, I kind of say, oh, I like eating this kind of food, or I support Liverpool FC, or, I'm a fan of George Michael, or whatever it may be. And it attracts people
Hmm.
that are into that as well, kind of thing.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
then people start having conversations about it. And when people start having conversations, then people engage with you. I mean, people engage with you, the algorithm pushes your content out to more people. So I always recommend start with a post per week, just talking about yourself, just talking about who you are,
Be
etc. Yeah,
yourself.
and it's
Perfect.
brings people
Yeah.
into your world.
Yeah. Actually saying that, that's a really good advice. Thank you. I will tell them that. And I love when I see you talk about certain things when you go to companies and you do training for them. And then I'm sure that leads on other people see that because then they see you doing training, they think, oh, I need some training for my company. So is that kind of like a catalyst? Does that continue
Yeah,
on?
absolutely. I always say the only person that sees 100% of your content is you. I could the thing is most people when they use LinkedIn, they just kind of they put their profile up and they say, right, this is me. This is what I do for a living. For example, I'm a LinkedIn trainer or run a marketing agency, etc. It's rare that people will land on your profile and actually bother to read the content unless they are a completely hot lead. If they're really interested in you, they will read it. But for the passers-by, for the audience, for the people scrolling, etc., it's very unlikely that they're going to do that. I kind of talk a lot about I regularly share when I've got a client or when I've got some work that I've delivered, etc. I share it because reminds people what I do for a living. It's very much about reinforcement. Because as we know, life in general, out of sight, out of mind, right? We all between
Yeah,
us, we all know
that's
hundreds, if
true.
not thousands of people. And the thing is, I could ask you right now how many LinkedIn trainers do you know? And you could probably name 10 off the top of your head. And it's one of those things that
Hmm.
if I stop posting and the others keep posting, then at some point when somebody needs a LinkedIn trainer, for example, they'll go to somebody else as opposed to me. So it's that
Hmm.
reinforcement and those reminders of a regular basis. So it sounds like bragging. It sounds like, oh, look at me, I've got a client, but actually
No,
it's a
no, no.
reminder to get more clients because ultimately my bills
Yeah.
don't stop.
Yeah, it's true. We've got to be paying the bills.
Absolutely.
I know we talk about LinkedIn, but I love it because I just want people to be on it. But what made you actually I know you're on Instagram and I know you're on, other places. And I think you left Twitter or X, but what made you focus on LinkedIn? Is it because that's where the money's at? Or is there something else that you loved about
Yeah, that
LinkedIn?
I mean that's a great question, and that's exactly what I did for me in terms of that's where I made money. So I talk a lot about force fields, for example. So my force fields, in essence, are my LinkedIn. So connect with me on LinkedIn, sign up for my email marketing, and join my free Facebook group. And my Facebook group is it's kind of full of like advice and tips and all that kind of stuff for social media. So that's kind of my three-pronged approach. And then I have a secondary force field, which is like others. So you can watch my YouTube channel, or you can read my Instagram stories, or you can read my threads or blue sky or whatever, etc. So it's the reason I kind of lent into LinkedIn was because that's where I started making money. And what I found was, so I'm a member of a membership called the Inner Hub, which is run by two ladies called, well, they're both called Laura, so their business is called the Two Lauras.
The
The
two
two
Laura's,
Lauras.
yeah.
And in there, lots of people started asking about LinkedIn questions, and I would always answer the questions. And then they started tagging me in like kind of LinkedIn questions as well, etc. And at the time, I realized actually I know more than, like, I'm not just a social media generalist. I can kind of,
Hmm.
deep dive into particular platforms. And because LinkedIn is where I make money, that's where I teach other people to make money, in essence.
Perfect. Perfect. And I know that you've got your own membership coming. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that? Is that coming,
It is.
Gus? Because I know we've had a few conversations. It was like, yeah, it's coming, it's coming. But if you'd love to tell us, and if there's a wait list,
Yes.
obviously this is going to go out later on this year.
Yeah, I mean the way the world works. I mean, first there was the Big Bang, so the world was, it was here. Then we invented fire. Then we invented kind of wheels, was sliced bread, and then soon after that, I think I announced that I'm going to start a membership. um, so I've been talking for a very long time about this membership.
Yep.
The wheels are all now in motion. I'm going to use a platform called Circle. I've got my sales page being currently written, etc., etc. I've
Perfect.
already got like 60 or 70 people on the wait list, but it's a LinkedIn specific membership. So there's going to be lots of other stuff about marketing and other platforms, etc. But it's about how to use LinkedIn as the nucleus of your marketing strategy. So there's like
Hmm.
accountability calls, content strategy calls, Q&A sessions, etc., etc. And then in time, we're going to have networking calls, in-person meetups, masterclasses from other kind of specialists, etc. But it's yeah, I've got grand plans. But essentially, yeah, I invited a couple of people in to kind of help me with the membership, but they kind of took me off in a bit of a kind of a tangent and a bit of a kind of awkward direction. So I kind
Okay.
of, and unfortunately, because that took a few months, I was quite far down the line. And when I realized I was on the
Hmm.
wrong path, it was a long way to come back. So then I just scrapped it all and just thought, right, I'm gonna start again with some new people, basically. And it's
Hmm.
my own fault.
Hmm.
I listened to the wrong advice, unfortunately.
But that's also, I suppose it's wrong advice, but it's also, and I don't want to say the word good, but it's also a good thing that it happened because you know that you don't want that to ever happen
Hmm.
again, and you learn from it. So
Yeah,
it's a learning, isn't it?
absolutely. And
Yeah.
when I tell people I run a marketing agency, like I'm a company of one, right? So I'm a sole trader. But the marketing agency element is if somebody came to me and said, right, I need LinkedIn training, or I need you to do content writing or email marketing or blogs, etc. Sure, I can do that. But if you then need, for example, search engine optimization or Facebook ads or Google ads or graphic design, etc., then I would bring somebody else in and say, right, this, but
Mhm.
it'd still be
Mhm.
the agency model because you still deal with me, etc., etc. So because there's lots of experts out there, and I know hundreds, if not thousands, of freelancers that are brilliant at what they do. I spoke to a couple of people who seemed like they were really good at what they do, and then as we kind of went down the path, because they were like, "Oh, we're going to help you with."
Mhm.
I needed a tech stack basically, and they were like, "Oh, we can help you with this, we can help you with that," and then essentially they gave me the wrong tech stack. They charged me way too much money for that tech stack, and I realized that actually it can all be condensed into one or two things, but they sold me like five or six different pieces of software, which is, and looking back now, you just think that's stupid of me to actually fall for that. But really, you
Mm.
put your trust in other experts, don't you? The people around you and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly, and you believed in them, so
yeah,
yeah, but it's all good now, on the right path
yes,
going
yeah.
forward. And again, we'll put the link in the show notes for
Thank you so
you,
much.
and then you can sign up to Gus's wait list, and, hopefully it'll be started by then, by the time this episode goes out. So it's a nice bit of promotion for you,
Hopefully,
Gus.
yes, indeed.
Perfect, perfect. So, I was gonna say one of my questions are, what is next, and, what would you like to do in the future? But it's more of a dream project. Who would you love to work with? Like what dream client or dream project, you can manifest?
That's a great question. So I go to this event, as you know, Angela, as yourself as well. We go to the annual Atomicon conference up in Newcastle.
Mm,
And Andrew and Pete, the organizers, they always do this talk about, like, for example, last year it was about the big domino, and the one this year was about, um, the big ask and asking people and all that kind of stuff.
big
And I
ask.
thought about this, and I thought there's a lot of brilliant people that I've already worked with. And, because I've been in business for like 8 years. So a lot of the people that I've wanted to work with, I have, which is great. But
Oh,
there are
amazing.
certain goals in my business. Like, for example, I want to write a book. I want to start a podcast. Obviously, I need to start the membership first. That's the important thing. But people that I want to work with, I think it's um, eh, like I'd love to be, for example, the social media manager for the Aston Martin Formula One team and things like that. And it's those
Yeah,
kind of, and
yeah.
not just because I want to travel the world and watch Formula One, but more it's about the brand story and what it
Hmm.
stands for and all that kind of stuff. And because, like, for me, so Aston Martin is local, so they're kind of Warwickshire based, etc. So I wouldn't have too much of a trek to work either. Um,
Yeah.
but I think I'd love to work for a big brand like that, but something that I can really get my teeth into and something that I really love. But in terms of individuals, I think, yeah, I can't really think off the top of my head in terms of who I'd want to work with, because I could, it's very easy to say, well, I want to work with Gary Vaynerchuk, or I want to speak at
Yeah.
Social Media Marketing World, or et cetera, et cetera. And they're all goals that would all be nice to have, but I just think, if it actually happened, would I do it? Would I get involved? Do I want to work with Aston Martin? If there's a
Hmm.
job, would I really apply for it? I don't know, because I
Yeah.
also love my business, and I love the variety of my business and who I do work with. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah,
Well, maybe there's a chance in there to do a branding project with them. Never know,
yes,
or a marketing
yeah,
project with them. So
absolutely, yeah, 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 I'd love that.
yeah,
Yeah, so
do a LinkedIn post and get them on your
yeah,
radar.
yeah, absolutely. I'll tag them in. Yeah. I'm going to a big social media event next year, and I wrote about it and tagged them in, and they actually got in touch, and we're kind of in talks about various things and all that
Oh,
kind of
did
stuff.
that?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So,
perfect. See how the world works. You just got to put yourself
and
out
I
there, haven't you? And
and I think
just
that's the thing. I've had a lot of brilliant. For example, I do a lot of public speaking, so I've had a lot of brilliant kind of speaking gigs, etc. And it's because literally I either write about them, or I ask the question, like, can I speak on your stage, etc. Without actually kind of like pitching or anything like that. It's more about, oh, if you
Mhm.
need someone, if you need me, kind of give me a shout. And thankfully, lots of people do. So that's really nice.
I love that. You make it more of a conversation instead of a hard sell
Yeah,
pitch.
and, now
It's a nice
running
style.
my own conference now, I see the difference. There are people that say, "I'd love to speak because I think I can help your audience with this," or it would fit into your conference, etc. But there are other people that just pitch
Mhm.
for the sake of it. They're just like, "Right, this is my subject, and I haven't looked at your conference. I've never been at your conference. I don't understand what your conference is about, but because I just want to speak and I want to get paid to speak, I'm going to apply for this anyway," kind of thing. And it's that, and you just think you haven't done any research, and it's not, and all
Mm.
that kind of stuff.
Mm.
Whereas when I talk to event organizers, it's very much like, if you like, this is what I do for a living. If you think it fits into the theme and you think I can help your audience, then let's have a conversation. Yeah,
That's perfect. I love that. Yeah. And that's also, I love that you came on the podcast to speak to me too, because I also get pitches and they've not listened to the podcast. And I've actually got on top of the form, this is a podcast for people of colour who are black, brown
yes,
creatives. And I get all sorts of people asking, I'm like, you've not even
yeah,
read that, or you've not listened to the podcast.
yeah,
So, want this platform to highlight creatives of
yeah,
colour. So it's
absolutely.
interesting that they don't even read the top
Yeah,
line or listen to the
yeah.
podcast. So it's interesting. So thank you for when I put the shout out, you fit the brief,
Yeah,
Gus. So
absolutely.
thank you.
Yeah, I looked at the brief and I was like, yeah, I could do that. Yeah. So
It's
yeah, yeah.
simple. Perfect. I'd love to end on a personal note. If there's anything, actually, is there anything else you'd like to add to the podcast or anything that you want to cover that we haven't spoke about that I can ask you?
No, another I can think of. We talked about kind of where I'm going and where the business came from, etc. And
Hmm.
particularly, I think, the because, as you know, because of this podcast, and it's for creatives like us, obviously, like you say, for the black and brown kind of creatives out there, there is always that underlying turn of how we've made it into the world by being who we are and all that
Hmm.
kind of stuff, etc. And I think we've kind of covered that in terms of, you have to be yourself. You have to be intentionally yourself and unapologetically yourself to actually get your voice heard, if that makes sense. And obviously, for people like us, it
Perfect.
it can
Yeah.
be a little bit harder, and we have to bang the doors down instead of just knock on them or try to to open them, etc. But we have to be there to. If we're not there, somebody else is. Basically, I think that's the point.
Yeah. And the thing is, we keep on banging the doors and we're getting seen and getting heard. So, we're doing our thing. And I think we need to continue doing our thing and obviously show other people that we're doing it and they can hopefully gain inspiration and do something like this too. Do a podcast, start up your own marketing
Absolutely.
agency. It can
Yeah.
be done. So it's perfect. Thank you. Thank you. I
No
love
worries.
that. So end on a personal note to yourself. What advice would you give your teenage self?
Ooh, my teenage self, I'd probably say don't run a pub. So I might do that. No, it's a difficult one. I think the thing is, now that I run a business and it's kind of not in any way, shape, or form is it successful, but it's a lot further than it was like kind of, when I started 8 years ago. But I think it's one of those things that so I tell my younger self to stop procrastinating, to get things done, to look before you leap. Because a lot of like I've always jumped into jobs because I've hated the previous job and all that kind of stuff. And actually, sometimes it's about making things work, etc. Running the pub was brilliant and terrible, but it was brilliant in terms of it taught me how to run a business, so I could then start my own marketing agency. I think if I went straight from a career into a marketing agency, I wouldn't have that kind of that knowledge or that that wherewithal and all that kind of stuff. But there's the element of don't I'll tell my teenage self, don't forego a salary, don't keep your friends close. um you know
Hmm.
Good hearts meet good hearts, basically. So make sure that
Yeah,
you surround yourself with good people. And
100%.
some of my bestest friends in the world, and some of the people that I know now, the people that have met since I started my business, a lot of friends have kind of fallen by the wayside and all that kind of stuff. And I think 90% of my friends nowadays are now people that I've met in the 8 years since I started my business. So
Hmm.
it's never about time, it's about respect and love and getting to know people and all.
And good
Yeah,
people.
exactly. So
It's really interesting because I had this conversation with a few, I say business friends, but they're not business friends, they're friends. But I've met them through business and networking and just going to various events and communities, and they've become best friends. And it's so weird because I always thought after I had my children, and obviously, at school gate, you meet all the mums there and the dads, and some of them become friends, some keep, some don't. Think, oh, I don't need any more friends in my life. Kind of think I'm good. And then you meet and you just go out and you meet other people, and it's just like, wow, I've got more friends, and they're just awesome. And there's, especially in business, and we're both in solo businesses. It's good to have that support network too.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's the
yeah.
thing.
So thank you, friends.
Yeah, thank you, friends. Yeah, absolutely. And I think to be honest, I think that would be my one advice for my kind of my teenage self, that the friends will come and go, but there will be a kind of a small group that will be with you forever. But the group that you have now may not be the group that you have in the future, but it's still about keeping good people close to you whenever you meet them, basically.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, perfect. Love that. So now it's time for the quick fire and fab
Okay,
questions.
cool.
So it's one or
I'm
the
ready.
other. So what would you prefer? Crisp or chocolates?
Chocolates.
You could say chocolate orange. But I'd love, love, love to talk about your brand because obviously I'm a brand
Of course.
designer. And every time I see Gus, he is wearing what color, Gus?
Orange. Always orange, yeah.
Why? Why,
So
Gus?
there's a whole variety of reasons, but the main reason is that I was talking about this the other day to somebody actually. So when I started my brand, so my favorite colors were like purple and silver and stuff like that. So when I started my business, I wanted my brand to be purple and silver. But I wanted definitely to have the hashtag in a speech bubble because that kind of, and all that kind of stuff, because I wanted a symbol of the brand. Like you see, for example, the Coca-Cola swipe or the Amazon
Mm-hmm.
smile
The
or
swoosh.
and all
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
yeah.
I wanted something to signify something without the words, if that made sense. So that's why I kind of got my brand. But
Perfect.
then when I put it in kind of purple and silver, it looked awful. It looked really bad. And I thought, oh, that doesn't it looked, because obviously you have to get it on a black background and a white background and all that kind of, it looked terrible and
Mm-hmm.
everything. So then
Mm-hmm.
my branding guy at the time said, because he was a color specialist, he was like, what do you do in your business? And I said, or what do you want to do in your business? And I used to run workshops where I used to bring a Terry's chocolate orange into the workshop and I used to put it down on the table and I say, right, what does this teach us about marketing? And obviously, I mean, I won't ask everybody, it's all about segmentation, right? So it's different parts of your audience and all that kind of stuff. And we then go to eat chocolate. When I
Yep.
talked about that, he said, "Oh, let's try orange." And I said, "Well, I wanted to go with black because not only is it a good contrast, but also black signifies luxury. So the black is luxury, the orange is warmth, and they kind of go well together. But then the story is from Terry's chocolate
Perfect.
oranges, basically. And then
I
it
love
just
that.
stuck because when I got new clients, when I get email subscribers, etc., etc., I send lots of people orange chocolate. So it all kind of came from that as well. There you go. See
Sure.
my, or,
On my
my
desk,
orange mints. Absolutely.
I've got Gus's orange mint packaging here, and I'm like, it sits on my
Yeah.
desk, so it's like I've got you here,
Exactly.
Gus.
No, I really appreciate that. And again, it's just those things, those little bits that kind of go out to people and just
Yeah.
it's that reinforcement. Because on that tin of mint, you will see I don't have my website address. There's no link. There's nothing, and all that kind
No.
of stuff.
Yeah, it's
Because
nothing.
that's again probably a terrible kind of sales faux pas. I'm sure a salesman would say, no, you definitely need that. But for me, it's not that. For me, it's just I just want people to be reminded of me rather than like
Yeah. The
yeah,
hard
ramming my
sell.
sales
Yeah.
down their throat kind of thing. So
Yeah. And also they can look you up, and
yeah,
also they'll remember you from giving them that,
yeah.
so which I have,
And that's the thing.
obviously,
If you
a surname.
go
So yeah,
to Google and type in the M Guru, like the first 10 pages are all about me. So yeah,
it's gonna be
yeah,
about you.
absolutely, yeah,
Perfect.
exactly,
I love that.
yeah.
Okay, so let's do
So
our
yeah,
quick fire in 5 questions. So should I say crisp or should I say
yeah,
chocolates or Terry's chocolates?
absolutely, yeah. Chocolate, preferably orange. Yeah.
Right. Beach or forest?
Ooh, beach.
Reggae or soul?
Ooh, soul.
Patty or sandwich?
Oh, patty. Yeah, flavor,
Okay.
Yeah, flavor.
Nice, isn't
Yeah,
it?
absolutely. Yeah,
Nice spicy
yeah,
flavors.
absolutely. And that's that. I'm old school, right? So I love reading books. I love kind of. I've got loads of books downloaded on my Kindle. When somebody says, "Oh, buy my book for 99p," you think, "Oh, I'm going to support them. It's only 99p, etc." You never read it, and you just like the amount of
Yeah.
99p's I've spent in my life. I mean, it's like, I could have bought an actual book. so
You can pull the
and
book.
so it's yeah, I think it's one of those things that I'm very old school. So yeah, sitting on the beach, reading a book, eating a flavoursome patty, with some Terry's chocolate orange for dessert. I mean, that's by listening to some soul kind of thing. Yeah, absolutely. It's the winning
Perfect.
combination.
What a lovely way to round up the podcast. Thank you. So tell people how they can find you. I'll put obviously all your links in the
So
show
yeah, no, I
notes.
appreciate that. My number one place where I hang out is LinkedIn. So you can just search for Gus Bhandal on LinkedIn, or indeed if you search for either Gus Bhandal or the M Guru on Google, you can find me anywhere. I'm on literally about 40 or so different social media platforms, but I do my best work on LinkedIn. So come and connect.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Gus. And thank you for
No
joining me.
worries.
And have a fabulous day. And keep on doing what you're
Thank you
doing.
so much. Yeah, you too. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no worries. No worries. Thanks, Gus. So let me start by giving thanks. Thank you for tuning in to Creatives Like Us. I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it thought-provoking, inspiring and entertaining. If you did, it would absolutely make my day if you could share and subscribe, rate and review wherever you get your podcasts. Also, if you have a question or a comment, I'd love to hear from you. All the ways to connect are in the notes. And until next time, keep being creative, like us.